No, I'm not speaking, but I want to tell you a couple of things before Dorian Flynn gets up here tonight. Most of you know Dorian. If you don't, you'll still be thrilled in just a moment when he gets a chance to speak. The work that he's done, Partners for Africa, great, great work. But known Dorian a long time, not as long as my wife has, but a long time, and everything he's been a part of, it's like he's like the guy, everything he touches turns to gold. He's just done so many really good works, going all the way back to the Caribbean and in North Alabama with the church there, and everything I've ever heard he did. He did a great job. It kind of spoke to me about I needed to tell y'all because some of you don't know, Lord willing, April, Deb and I are going to Africa. And most of you know that, but not everybody probably knows it. We're going to go to Africa for the month of April. So what's going to happen is, I don't know how many of you know, we did work in Africa, so we want to do a little bit of a lot of different things. We want to check on the congregations that we helped start, see how many of them might still be around and how things are going there. We want to see some of the congregations, some of the brethren that we worked with over there. Want to do that. We want to check on Paul, Deb's brother, Paul Sheesby, who basically has been a part of restoring a Church of Christ that kind of slipped away and became, for want of a better word, a Baptist church, and now has back and has given up the instrument and is back in fellowship, full fellowship, and has reached out to the rest of the churches across the area. We want to check on them, see how they're doing. But one of the first things we're going to do the first week we're there, Lord willing, in April, is we want to join Dorian and Sherry up there in Zimbabwe to look into what all they're doing, Partners for Africa. I thought we were just going for a visit, but apparently we're speaking all over the place. I didn't know that was going to happen. It's looking more just a laid back kind of thing, but apparently we're speaking a lot. But looking forward to that, seeing the work that we have sponsored with them for, or not sponsored, but been a part of for I don't know how many years now. How long have you been doing this? 17 years. And I suppose not long after you got involved, we were involved with it. And a lot of you, you know when we started? 15 years, yeah. And a lot of you brethren have done some wonderful things. There may be an opportunity tonight even, but many times he's mentioned something that needed to be done, and you just stepped in and paid for it or helped to pay for it or done some work with it. So God bless you for all that. I wanted to say something personal just about Dorian that I haven't said so far. And I think this needs to be said about him. Somebody needs to say it at some point, because I've really watched a very faithful man be very dedicated to a great work for a long, long, long time. And I mean, a lot longer than 15 years. And I was just a kid when I first met him. No, that's not true. But, but I will say this. Do you remember the story of Elijah? Elijah was going to leave. He's going to be taken up into heaven, and Elisha followed him around, and Elisha wouldn't leave him. And Elijah kept saying, no, just wait here. And Elisha said, no, I'm not leaving you. I'm going with you. And the other prophets watched from a distance, but they didn't go. And they crossed the Jordan and by a miracle. And Elijah says, well, what is it that you want? He says, well, I'd like a double portion of your blessing. Now, I'm not expecting that. I'm getting to another story. But at any rate, he said, well, if you see me when I'm taken up, then maybe God will grant you that. And he did. So Elijah went up by a whirlwind, saw the chariots, as you know, a fire, taking him up. But then after he was taken up and Elisha went back, what happened is the other prophet said, yeah, it was a whirlwind. Let's go look for his body. He's probably cast on some hill around here. Well, a tornado got him. That's what they thought. Let's go look. And he said, no, that's not what's happened. You don't understand. I saw the chariots of the Lord. He's taken up to heaven. He said, no. Let's go look. And so he finally got embarrassed. He said, go look. So they looked, right? For 3 days, 50 men looked for his body. Obviously, after 3 days, he'd have been stinking. They would have found him. No. And he said, I told you. And here's the message of that. God doesn't lift you up just to let you down. He doesn't lift you up just to cast you down. The end of that story is Matthew 17. Elijah's on the mountain with Jesus and Moses. And he's pointing the way for us. What I'm trying to say is, I believe that this man has been lifted up so many times in so many ways because of the work he's done. And I don't know what will be the end of his life, but I am telling you, his life will point the way for generations of missionaries. And I really believe that. I think you need to pay attention to what he's doing. I've never seen anybody engaged any more than he has. It should be an example to us all about how to get engaged in mission work whenever we do anything. I believe he's like Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration, pointing the way. So whenever he departs this world, and we've had to watch his father, but whenever you depart, I think you're going to be that Elijah that we're all going to remember and say, man, do you remember Dorian and what he did? We need to do something like that because he's still doing great works. Dorian, come tell us about some of the stuff you're doing. Appreciate you, bro.
Well, let me just say, first of all, it's an absolute joy to be here, to be in your new facility, and to know you built a facility because there are all kinds of things that you want to do to connect with the people in your culture. And I think that that is wonderful. And I want you also to know that when I walked in here, I got to see Rex and Deb, and they are special to Sherry and I. It blesses your life, and it's a contributing factor to being faithful when you know there are people in other places of the world, sometimes simultaneously in Africa or in the States, and you know that they are living for Christ and they are wanting to grow his kingdom. And their family is that way. And I will always love them for that, and I appreciate it. And I am relishing the time that we can spend together. And that program, by the way, is flexible when you come. But it's great to be here. Now, I want you to know that we haven't stayed in the same place when I was here last time. We are moving along. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight is going to be some of the new things that have happened. Let me just, whoops, oh, that's, okay. So I'm seeing songs here, so that's why I need to turn around. By the way, let me back up. I know the lighting, I know you guys have got special lighting here, but that picture, I just want you to know, that's my picture, okay? I mean, I love lions, and I got up, and that's not a zoom lens, by the way. So, you know, lions have always been my favorite animal, especially the male lion, you know? I've just loved that, you know, and it's a two-sided coin in as far as it being a great life and a sad life. Because when a male lion reaches its peak, it's just for a short time. You know, I mean, they kind of, you know, they rule their area. They rule their pride, and some have more than one pride. This past summer, there was a lion. There's a story about a lion in Tanzania, and he was called Bob Jr. because his father was called Bob Marley. And you know, Bob with these, you know, that's what they, so, but he did something unusual. First of all, he was about 11, 12 years old, but he had a pride for 7 years. It's where he reigned. All the time, you got these young lions coming up, man. You know, all of these young guys flexing. And then this is the sad part. They said they were observing him, you know, he had fought off so many and kept his pride. Finally, 3 young lions, male lions, came for him. And they said he put up a fight for a while, And then he just relented, and they took him down. But they still my favorite animals. So anyway, allow me a little story on that. So the global outreach, I do want you to know our work is expanding. We're in Southern Africa, we're in 7 countries, but we also, we lived many years ago in the Caribbean, and we're starting to help some islands in the Caribbean as well now. Dominica is the first one. And so our outreach is extending further and further. This container we shipped about 4 weeks ago to Dominica. Dominica is a very mountainous island, and because of the hurricanes that come through, it's like they gravitate towards these mountainous islands, and these islands get clobbered. Dominica, like almost 2 or 3 years in a row, it was just annihilated. And so we are sending containers to help them. But I do want you to see the island a little bit. It's just, if you had to think of a Garden of Eden, today, that's it. I mean, there's no poisonous snakes there, there's, I mean, we hiked all up in there. And my grandson and myself and the preacher, we're all up in there, man. And it was just fantastic. I just wanted you to, and this is at the base of one of the trees in the forest there. And that's Louis Romaine, the minister there, and my grandson, Tristan. So I want you to see this one. Because where Deb and I grew up, close to Victoria Falls, there's a lot of baobab trees. Well, in Dominica, I saw this baobab tree. And the hurricane had hit it, and it had fallen over, and it had crushed a school bus, because that's what that yellow strip is. That's a school bus. And they had parked the school bus by the baobab because they felt like the hurricane wouldn't damage it. Boy, were they wrong on that. I mean, I had a double take. What? Yeah, no, that's a school bus, So the power. We are in Zambia. And we've been in Zambia for about probably 3 or 4 years shipping containers, but we are working there really hard now. It's very receptive, and there are areas. Zambia is a big country. By the way, just let me say this. In Southern Africa, there's 3 countries there, Zambia, Namibia, where we're working right now, and South Africa that are larger than Texas. I won't say this in Texas. But it's larger than Texas. In fact, South Africa is almost twice the size of Texas. So I just want to give you an idea of the expanse of Southern Africa and where we're working. So Zambia is a country that's taken off. And needless to say, but let me say it because some of you might not have heard me tell it before. You baptize someone in a river in Zambia or Zimbabwe, especially up north, Victoria Falls. That's close to Kariba Dam, all that area. You've got to have long poles, and you've got to stick those poles down because you've got to make sure there's no crocodiles. So it takes a little, maybe more faith to be baptized there, than here. But anyway, it's quite amazing. We started a radio program there, and just excited about that. Had 47 baptisms this year just from the radio program. Just elated about what's happening there. This gentleman right here is a brother in Christ, Charles Peary, and he's one of the leaders in Zambia, an amazing man, and we are so thankful we have a partnership with him. This was one of the gatherings in Zambia during our leadership training programs. This happened in August of this past year. So the people have this hunger when brothers and sisters want to come from the U.S. and they want to teach, and they know that these brothers and sisters are mature, they've got decades of study of the Word of God behind them, and they love to come. Well, this was a leadership training program, but they couldn't help but invite their neighbors. So we had close to about 1,000 people a day. And so what happens about lunchtime, there are people that want to obey the gospel. And so we spend the afternoon teaching all of these new invites, and it wasn't unusual to have 10 lined up, 12 lined up, and quite exciting, and presents quite an amazing picture at the end of the day, for you to have in your mind. You don't have to leave a hook for people to come back the next day. That's it right there, So we have the ACT project, which is Africa Container Transport, which you saw with Dominica, okay? We have shipped 44, 45, 46. That was the 47th container. Now, if you work it out, about 1,200 boxes on a container, you can kind of mathematically figure out how many boxes Walmart has donated to us. And then we have the Mom Project, making orphan meals. And currently we are feeding about 2,500 orphans a week in 3 countries. That's besides the special feeding that represents right there to village areas where it is very dry. Where Deb and I grew up, the rainfall's about 19 inches a year in Matabele land. I don't know how much rain you get here. Maybe you had 19 inches in the last 5 days. I don't know. But what I'm saying, you get precipitation all year round. It's not that way in Zimbabwe. You get your rain, starts November, it ends in April, and you're done. And if the rains don't come, then you're in serious trouble. And so there's dry areas, they can't grow their food, and they end up being hungry, and many die just from starvation. And so this has proved, and let me just stop it right here, our good works is not an end game. We want them to know Jesus Christ. We want them to know the bread of life, but we know that Jesus fed. We know that that's part of being a child of God, is meeting the physical needs of people. And what happens? Opportunities come to share the bread of life after that. So we are thankful that we can do that. These are people in Zambia that had come hungry. And I just want you to know, one of those bags is 10 kg, which is 22.2 pounds. And it lasts the family for about a month, with about a meal and a half a day. So I joke with people. I'll tell them, I said, in Africa, when they say they're hungry, they probably haven't eaten for 3 or 4 days. In America, when we say we're starving, is we're having lunch at 1 instead of 11. I mean, we're just so blessed. But don't let me end on a negative. America is a generous country, and I honestly believe, I know we're not perfect. I know we got problems and challenges in our country. But one reason I believe that America continues to be blessed is because we are a generous people. And amongst our fellowship, it just amazes me and blows my mind to see how much we can do and how much we do just from our vehicle called Partners for Africa. So I love you all and appreciate all that you do. This is Namibia, and this is Johannes Peters. We've just started working with him and doing a tremendous work. This is a backyard Bible team he put together. We have found that is a tremendous vehicle to plant churches. Get backyard Bible clubs going. And you feed the children, you play games with them, you teach them a Bible lesson, and the parents in the villages, they start coming around. Because before, their kids were just running around the village. I mean, just aimless. And now you've got a program going. They're coming home excited. And before you know it, but we planted 3 churches last year just because of Backyard Bible. And so we appreciate this team that was put together in Namibia. And so here is these youngsters that they have now, are part of this. And now they're learning to pray. You can see this. Other guys are looking on, So they follow the method, but it's great, They some of them don't know Jesus Christ. Well, they all don't know Jesus Christ. They might have heard of him, and some of them might be into ancestral worship or witch doctors or whatever. But yet, here we start, and we show them the Christ, So this is some of the leaders. I'm not going to go through it. It's not the best of pictures. And let me just say this. We're a wealthy country, so we get new iPhones, or we can have a good phone. They have phones, but I mean, so when they give me pictures, I am just so happy for it. Just so thankful. South Africa. This is De Villiers Malambi, him and his wife. They are a dynamite couple. They're in northern South Africa called Venda, and he does a tremendous. He has an evangelistic spirit about him, and the young people just love him. We are so glad to have this partnership with De Villiers, and he's just immersing an older man into Christ there. So this is Cape Town. This is the East Ridge Church of Christ. If you'll notice on the left, you might not be able to read it. I don't know if you can. It says East Ridge Christian Academy. Now, Cape Town is a city of almost 5 million. I was born there. And it is a beautiful city. And I'm sure some of you heard of it. Maybe some of you have already been there to visit. It's one of the leading tourist attractions in the world. But because it's a big city, it also has some serious crime in certain areas. They've had gangs there since my father, who is 97, was a boy in some of those areas. And the gangs have maintained themselves. And one of those areas is East Ridge. It's in an area called Mitchell's Plain, and you can Google it, and it will tell you. There is one gang there called the Americans. Now, I don't know, red, white, and blue, you know. So this church makes it clear when you worship with them, we're not going nowhere. Crime is not going to push us out of this area. They've started the school. It's now going to go all the way through high school, and they're going to do their matric, their high school. But they say we're not backing off one iota. We did a seminar there last year, and the preacher, who I'm going to show in just the next slide, he says, Dorian, you guys have had your seminar. We went from 10 to 4 in the afternoon. He says, now, you guys need to go back to your hotel because you don't want to be here at nighttime. And he wasn't joking either, but I appreciate them. You can see the burglar bars or the metal cages, you know, on the windows and all that. But I just love that church. And so this is Theo and his wife, Amy. Theo is the minister there. Amy heads up the school. That little boy is not their son. They have 3 little girls, beautiful. But I just want you to know, and I am so sorry that his name eludes me right now, but that boy is special because in 2023, he memorized 500 scriptures. 500 scriptures. Now, you know, if you memorize it at that age, it's going to stay with you. Not at my age, you know, but at that age, and that's just amazing. So he won a special award, you know, for getting that done. So this is in Venda. Remember, I showed you De Villiers Malambi baptizing that guy. This is at the congregation, one of the congregations he's planted. So we invited young people, college age, from Venda, to come here. A good friend of mine, his name is Dr. Mike Houts, and if he was up here tonight to speak, he would say, I'm a deacon at the Madison Church of Christ, close to Huntsville, Alabama. I'm a deacon in missions. And that's all he'll say. And one reason I love him is because he's so humble. But he has a PhD from MIT, and he works with NASA, and he is actually on the team whose goal is to put somebody on Mars. But he will take his time, and he will pay his way, and he'll come with us, and we will go to universities in Southern Africa, and he'll get up. When he gets up there, he will, share unbelievable current knowledge about rockets, because his specialty is nuclear propulsion. And those students just sit there enamored. And then after about 15 minutes, he'll stop and he'll say, now I want to tell you, after describing the cosmos and all of that, I want to tell you about the God that created this. And some of those university students who come from an evolutionary background, and they're professors as well, got their hands up because they want to take him on. And he said, give me another 15 minutes, and then I'll answer every one of your questions. And he does. And what I love about it is no question does he condescend in his answer to that person. And so I love it. So we had a little over 200 students come from the University of Venda. And some of them were Christians, some of them weren't, but they came. And do you know that this is summertime now, because this was the 3rd of December. This was just a few weeks ago. It was Summertime, it was 104 degrees and there was no AC. And they sat from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon and listened to him. And I just thought, boy, what can motivate you more, And so I just want you to know this, that you are a part of this, okay? You have been helping us faithfully, as Rex mentioned, for the last 15 years. And it's just, I just want you to know that when you think about what Creekside does, just know that this is a part of what you are doing. And we are so thankful, your prayers, your support, and individual help that we have got. Just had a wonderful sister come up to me tonight and say, "Listen, I got all these Bibles. Can you have them?" And we're gonna get them, And we appreciate all of that. So this is Zimbabwe, just showing you some of the countries we're involved in. This is one of the orphans we feed, and this is his first ever piece of cake. It was a Merry Christmas cake. Had Merry Christmas on it, buddy. And that was his first bite of a cake. He'd eaten cornmeal before, what we call sadza, but I mean, this was his cake, and he was one happy camper, man. I don't think he's had that much of a blast of sugar in his life, This is one of the new congregations that we have planted in the Gwanda area, and that's Mtosa Banda, the guy in the black t-shirt. He's the minister there, and he's one of the guys that starts with these backyard Bible clubs and gets these churches planted, and he is quite an innovator. So that church that we have just planted, that's their source of water. So they walk a mile round trip. So they walk half a mile and they go dig in a dry riverbed till they get to the water, and they fill their buckets. And let me just tell you, that dirty water is put in buckets on their head, and it weighs a little over 41 pounds once the bucket is full. And they make several trips a day, those young girls, and they drink that water. And they use it to bathe or whatever. We need a well there. We need to put a submersible pump all the way down so we can pump it up, and then solar panels that will pump it to the tank, to the village. That's what we need. And it's going to cost about $7,500. We already raised $2,000. So this is some of our leadership. So Shaq with the beard, he has come about 15 times from Texas, but this is one of our leadership programs, and we're working with about close to 500 preachers now. That's besides elders and teachers that are both men and women. We are thankful. I just had that picture up there because I want to tell you, this past year we immersed 1,018 into Christ. And we had set a goal of over 1,000 last year. Didn't quite make it, but we have this year. And so we're looking at about 1,500 this year that we want to immerse into Christ. So the food distribution goes on right now. The rains have not come. We've had a little bit of rain, but not much. So we're distributing food right now. Each one of those bags costs about $10. And it'll feed, as I said, a family for a month. I just had to show this picture because when we got to the village, this guy only had underwear. That's all he had. Nothing else. He's running around, quite cheeky, by the way. A few holes in his underwear, if you know what I mean. And so we came out there and we got, our container, we got clothes and that, and we decked him up, man. I mean, we decked him out. And he looked so good, and then gave him a banana, and he's got his sandwich. I mean, does life get any better than that, really? Talk about Merry Christmas. I just love that, man. His mom was just smiling, man. Of course. One of the things that we have started last year is a compassionate ministry. Because what's happening in much of Africa is that people are dying prematurely. Waterborne diseases in the areas that I've showed you, early 30s, because of the water they drink. some from AIDS, some just from walking down the road and getting run over. Children, because they walk to school. So what we have done now is we've gone into villages, and these are villages where people still live in mud huts, and they don't have resources. And so if they lose a loved one under special situations, we will go in there and we will build them a coffin. We will take the body in the back of our truck, and we will take it to the morgue, and they'll do whatever they need to do. And the body's coming back to the village, because that's where they're going to have the funeral, and that's where the body's going to be buried. And then once we bring the body back, the coffin is finished, then we bring food in, because what happens in Africa is when somebody dies, it'll last about 3 or 4 days, okay? Especially in rural Africa. And family will come from the different villages, and they will stay there for 3 or 4 days till they have the funeral. And so it can sometimes be a burden on the family to try to provide food, you know? So we bring food in. But what's the end game? The end game, the end game is that they know Jesus Christ. And so with those good works gives us an avenue. And it's just another way. You know, you think of ways, how do we reach people? Just think of multiple layers. Oh, you mean you are the guys that preach the love of Christ? On a Sunday morning, you can come and we can sing about the love of Christ. But I want you to know that you are the guys that actually live it. Because don't you drill the water wells? Don't you feed orphans down there? Aren't you the ones that built that coffin for that widow lady who was trying to raise her grandchildren and her grandson got run over by a car? So we have campaign teams coming, and we booked up a year ahead. We've got three teams already locked in this summer. We'd love to have a team from here sometime. It'd be great. And maybe the scouts in Rex and Deb can come back and get something, you know. But I do want you to know that it's a blessing to us to have you guys come. And so maybe on your bucket list, breaking out of the box, however you want to define it, why don't you come? We'll take care of you. We've built ourselves a nice facility there. You'll be taken good care of. We're not trying to rough it. Because one of the philosophies is that we don't want you to come and drink dirty water and have no bed to sleep on and have no place to take a nice hot shower and then get sick, and so half your trip is spent trying to recover. That's a waste. We want you to come and we want you to be able to utilize every single day, and so you are taken care of. Yes, we'll go out to the villages and we'll go out to the bush, but we won't stay there, because that's not what we acclimated to, okay? This is a special picture because, and I'll end you in just a minute. This is a special picture. That young man that has his hands on his legs, years ago when our kids were small, Sherry and I went to the island of Antigua, and we planted a church there. And this guy was a Rastafarian at the time. And I got to meet him years ago, believe it or not. I was playing soccer. I got to meet him, and we became friends. And he cut off his dreadlocks before he was baptized. He's now an elder in the church. And he came from the island of Antigua and came to Zimbabwe and taught the preacher there and others the gospel of Jesus Christ. And although you might think they're both from, they're not. They're worlds apart, different cultures. But how God blesses. How God blesses. Let me just see. I'll go one more. Those are the teams that are coming from different places: England, South Africa, Zambia, USA, Antigua, Australia, that help us. This is our school. We have 3 classroom wings. Look at that, a rural school that has a science lab. You talk about, and you know we can do that because we have satellite, and we have our own power because we have solar panels, and we have all our own water. We're self-sufficient. We're not even on the grid. So this is our 4th classroom wing going up. Should be close to finished by the time Rex and Deb get there. And so this is our team. My wife and I began this, be 17 years in February. And, it takes both of us, It's a team effort. And that's what a successful marriage is. This is our son Lee, who came on board full time with us in August. And his son Boston, who comes with him now, but he's working with us full time. And this is our the other co-director, Haley, and his wife Noma. And I just want to say something about Noma. Noma just got her master's degree from from the University of Cape Town in chemical engineering, and she's just been approved for the doctoral program. So she's going to be one of our key, instructors, professors when we begin our university. And then my two grandsons from my daughter, we have 4 grandchildren. But Tristan, and I'm going to close with this, Tristan, Dakota is on the left, Tristan's on the right. Tristan just graduated from high school. He played football. He was quite an athlete. And he said to me, Granddaddy, I really don't want to go to school right away. I want to go get a job and work. I said, okay. So he was good friends with a guy who said, whose father owned a brick company. And his father got to know Tristan and said, Tristan, we'll put you in our management program. And Tristan said, great. So last time I said, Tristan, before you start all of that, let's you and I go to Africa. And so we went to 3 countries. We spent 2 months together. I know this is a granddad story. I know that. But man, this is just awesome. And when we got back after 2 months, I thought, well, he's been with granddad. That's generations away from me. I think he'll be ready to spend the balance of the time with these friends. Well, I told him I was going on to Dominica to lay plans for this container. And he said, I want to go with you. And so came back, started his job. 3 months into the job, and he calls me, and I'm in Africa, and he says, Granddad, I just want you to know that everything this company has said to me is true. They have been good to me, and I'm on this track. He said, but I have come home at night, and I thought, what is the purpose of this for me? He says, Granddad, I want to be a missionary. So he is enrolled at Harding, and he's moving on that track. So I just want you to pray for him. Somebody said to me, we're getting on in years. Dorian, do you have a if the Lord tarries, do you have some plans? Because yes, I got my son, and now God has got a grandson going that way. So we're excited about it. Let me just close with this. Why go through Samaria? Oh, you know the story. John 4. Okay. Woman at the well. Sychar. Jacob's well. Gives him water. Even says to Jesus when Jesus comes, are you greater than Jacob, who gives water all the time? And Jesus, yes, I am the Messiah. In fact, as am he. You can look at that verse. The he's not there, it's italics. He says am, because he's I am. That's who I am. Jesus coming through Sychar wasn't geographical. That was not the reason. He came to this earth to share the good news of what he was all about, and then transferred to his disciples, and is transferred on to us. That's what it's about. So when he came through Sychar, it wasn't geographical, it was theological, because there was a woman there whose heart would be receptive. Even though she's getting physical water, she would be receptive to the living water. Can I ask you a question? Who goes to a well in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, and leaves an empty bucket there? Nobody. Who leaves their nets and follows this guy. Disciples. She left her bucket because there was something far greater now that had grabbed her heart than this physical water. So I bring that up just to let us all know. Now God, in his wisdom, gives us a brand new chapter, a new year. God, can you help me find in my way, with my talents and abilities, that woman at the well that only I could maybe reach? In whatever circumstance, position, whatever it is, God, lead me to that person this year. For as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ. God, I want to be more like you, so help me to reach out to those who need to put you on too, but let me be that tool. We're going to sing a song, motivate you. You want prayers, encouragement, whatever. Let's do it as we stand and sing.